Hey everyone, welcome to our Summer of Manga 2023 review, and we're excited to have everyone participating from different countries of the world. Every year we have people from new countries and people that have never participated before join this event, so we're excited to see what you guys have submitted to us for this year. And today we have some artists from Saturday who are joining us today. We have the wonderful Morgan Walker. Morgan, I'll let you take the stage to introduce yourself.
Yep, I'm Morgan Walker. I'm the creator of Soulbeat, which is currently being published in Saturday AM's magazine. Happy to be here, as always.
Yes, and her Soulbeat Volume 1 is coming out, I believe, October, right?
Yeah, it's currently scheduled for October 3rd, so I haven't heard any changes to that. But it is also available for pre-order if you go to the SaturdayAM.com/graphic novels page. You can find links there to where you can buy it.
Awesome.
Just take my money, Morgan. Just take my money.
Yes. Yeah, gladly. Whatever you can spare.
Yes, and next we have Christina Andebach, and if you notice, she is wearing her lovely cat ears. Christina?
Yes. Finally you noticed. But yeah, hi, I'm Christina. I'm the creator of Grimheim, which is a dark medieval fantasy story currently published in Saturday Brunch. And I'm also very happy to be here once again. I'm kind of like always here. I noticed like in almost every YouTube video I make an appearance, so hello again.
Yes. And then last but not least, we have Han Rivers, and she was a part of our Summer of Manga last year. So,
oh my god, it's an honor. My name is Han. My Instagram handle is @piggyhammer. I'm a comic artist based in the UK, and my one shot, A Mighty Sword, was published in Saturday AM's issue 151 last year. And if you look at the cover of Summer Manga this year, you could see my OC, which is amazing. Summer Manga provided a great safe space with editorial help for me to do my one shot, and it was really lovely to be asked to come back and be a part of the review team this year, and we've got a great selection, so excited.
It's good to have all of you guys, and I'm grateful that you made it. That said, we have every one of our artists who are going to be reviewing your entries. Now, for the sake of privacy, we're going to be censoring a couple things because we haven't gotten everyone's permission to review their pitches. So we're going to be, censoring names, censoring different things that would identify this person. So, we're just going to try to keep it vague and stuff just to be polite and respectful. And yeah, we're going to be reviewing pitches that were accepted into our final 20. We're going to be reviewing pitches that were rejected, and we're going to be reviewing pitches that made it all the way to our interview process, but didn't quite make it, and we'll explain why they didn't make it. But that's how it's going to look like for both this first and second episode. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We got some really interesting ones, a lot of different diverse ones to go through. So let me go ahead and pull this up. Okay, so the first one we have was a pitch that we accepted. And we liked the plot, we liked the artist. This was actually made by an artist and a writer team. For this one, I said that we were gonna censor some things, but we've already announced the people who are officially joining Summer Manga, so the pitches that we did accept, I'll be displaying the names here, but we have Caitlin Sanctuary by Alverne Ball, who is the writer. and I'm sorry if I'm butchering names. And Wilsa Sebretti, who's the artist. And Alvern is from the United States, and Wilsa is from Indonesia. Oops.
Woo! Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I don't think we've had someone from
neighbor.
Indonesia before, so this is exciting. Okay, let's see. Their pitch is Christina, would you like to read what they got going on here?
Yes, of course. So the pitch is Dr. Stone meets Transformers Beast Wars. I guess it's a movie, Transformers Beast Wars, or
I think it's one of the genres of Transformers. They've had so many different series over the decades.
Okay. So should I read the plot too, or?
Yeah, you could read the plot. Go ahead.
Okay. So the plot is Katin, or Kaitin, whatever, is a 15-year-old boy searching for his identity in a world that has forsaken science for religion. When he comes across an endangered brown bear, Katin helps a group of animal lovers transport it to a sanctuary where he must stop a deadly hunter in order to save not only this rare brown bear from extinction, but also the last living silverback gorilla, which may be a Shimpu, a cybernetic animal / transformer made for Katin's protection in this new world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it looks like just some notes on the writer. The writer has experience writing comics and stories. One of the reasons why we liked this particular writer was because he won several awards for his writing, and he also published some graphic novels. And when they were prompted, they were able to condense down their story really quickly, which is which that part, especially at the end, is what we're looking for in interviews. We're looking for people who can break down their story very quickly and get to the main points fast. So we really liked the interview process with the with the writer. Now the artist we didn't get to interview specifically, but we were shared their portfolio. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at that so we could kind of examine the art. But what do you guys think of the story, the plot?
I mean, I thought it was really fresh, and because it involves like lots of different animals. I'm an animal person and I really like them. So when I read that, I was like, I want to read it. So it's got uniqueness. It's quite short as well. The plot, I always tell people, I literally even like made a post before Summer Manga telling people, hey, condense it down to maybe like 50 words, because the plot's role is to sell, is to raise interest, is not to close the deal. So if people read your plot, they should feel excited to read your story, and that one I definitely am very excited to read. So yeah, absolutely yes for me.
Awesome. Awesome. I agree. And I think the story would be interesting to read. It kind of sounds a little bit like cybernetic, I guess, because he was mentioning like some kind of technology has forsaken.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. You'd think it'd be the opposite, where like people are forsaking religion for science, but this world is the opposite, forsaking science for religion. So that's interesting.
Well, to be fair, he only made one comment of one character possibly having the cybernetics. So, and it's already kind of presenting it that it's leaning in favor of the science aspect. So the fact that he would be in, that he would have a relationship with another character that also involves cybernetics, I think that's kind of what it's implying there. So it may still be limited within the world of the series.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
Just which was kind of surprising for me when I read this. When I first read the first line, like he's, this boy who was searching for his identity in a world that has forsaken science for religion, I wasn't expecting it to have like this animal focus, to be honest. That kind of took me by surprise, because I think when I think of a world that has like Forsaken Science for Religion, animal rescue and stuff is not something that immediately came to my mind. So I think that was an interesting twist to that. And I'm actually curious to how all of this, kind of goes together, and how the story can be told with, these themes kind of being combined. And so it's definitely very interesting. Not something I usually would expect from a pitch, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, just looking at the artist's work, it's incredible. This artist clearly has been doing this for a while. Um, Looks like they do have some examples of sequential art. They've got a couple here. Um, but I mean, this work is very stunning and very beautiful. Um, what do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely. High quality.
Yeah, the rendering is really great, whether it's in black and white or in color. I think the first concern that comes to mind is obviously timing, how long it takes to do these kind of pages. I think maybe Christina, who has very detailed artwork and backgrounds very similar to this, I think maybe she could speak to some of that struggle, whether it's going to take a while or not. So I'm curious to see what the final product will look like for a competition like this.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, yeah, that about does it for the artist and the writer. And again, they were accepted as a pitch for Summer Manga. So if you go on the Saturday M website, guys, you can see our final list of 20 people that we selected, and this arter and writist this arter and writist this writer and artist team are the only team in our final 20. So yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's review a couple pitches that we rejected. Um and see kind of how like it compares so you guys could get an overall sense of like what we're looking for and what we're not looking for. All right, looks like our next pitch is Angel Hades Ghost Rippers. So, Han, would you like to read what this person has?
Okay, so the pitch is I'm gonna say this wrong. It's Avon Ryoshima becomes a Ripper Angel. Sounds really interesting. Okay, so the plot is a teenager is granted the sword of an entity called Dreth Hades. I think maybe they mean death. I don't know. Or maybe they mean Dreth. I don't know. Hades. In order to be among the Ripper Angels, a celestial race of people assigned to wipe out the evil ghosts or fertiles from the human world. Oh.
Okay. I mean, what do you guys think of what do you guys think of the plot?
Very basic, to be completely honest. That was my first thought. It felt like a very, very general, basic idea for a concept, to be honest. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily very like unique. It's mm-hmm. I was kind of thinking about Bleach. I don't know if it's really like Bleach, but I guess because of this whole, the person has a sword and then they go to fight these ghosts, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's just a very basic sort of idea now. I'm not sure about the pitch either, because the pitch is not really a pitch, or at least not something that we can work with really, because usually a pitch is you have two things and you kind of combine them, like, I don't know, Naruto meets Berserk or something like that, and then you can kind of get your mind, racing about that stuff. So I guess for me it would just be too basic to really work with that, and I would be like, okay, what makes this really unique? Because I've seen stuff like this before, and I'm like, maybe you need to, tweak things around a little bit to make it more outstanding. Maybe have some cultural twist to it or something.
Yeah. I think what's missing with the plot is just kind of describing what's going to happen at the beginning, middle, and end. Because I believe one of the things we were asking people for was one paragraph. So for all of those who who don't know this, a paragraph is about 5 sentences at the minimum. It's not an essay, you know, it's not like 10, 15 sentences. It's like basic paragraph is like going to be like 5, 6 sentences. So right off the bat, this is not what we asked for. Also, we were asking for a beginning, a middle, and an end. We kind of want to see like the events that are going to happen in your comic. So like what's going to happen in the beginning, you know, if she granted the sword of entity, what happens in the middle, you know, is she supposed to be fighting ghosts? And then, you know, what happens at the end? Like there's no ending here. So like we don't know what happens. So I would say that's kind of like probably like the biggest issue with the plot. But let's go ahead and check out their art here. And I'll let you, Morgan, take over, and you could kind of comment on what you think of their art.
Sure. I did check out their page, so while you're pulling it up, it does seem like they have an existing story, like right there. So that's another no-no that we, or one thing that will cause us not to approve a pitch is if you're trying to pitch something that already exists. We're looking for new and original work to put in the magazine for the one-shots. And sometimes there are exceptions. Like I think we had someone who was pitching a prequel to an existing story that they had, and there was something interesting enough about it. I don't know if that person got approved, but I remember hearing at least positive things about that individual and their pitch. The artwork here, I'm not sure what the age of this person is. I don't want to assume that they're a young person because of some of the lack of fidelity in the artwork. But it does seem like someone who's maybe trying to figure out still how to draw digitally. I don't know if there's examples of traditional artwork that might be more polished and refined. That's not to say that we don't accept people who have an unrefined art style, but I think that we're still looking for people who have some competency when it comes to panel layouts, the tools that they're using. We tend to favor those creators over others, as long as they also still have the complete package with their story as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let me see here. Yeah, and regarding what you're saying, Morgan, with the we have a rule in Summer of Manga, because we get a lot of people who want to pitch us their manga series, and we're not looking for a manga series. We're looking for a short story. So, and the reason why is because we want to get a feel for you as an artist or a writer. You know, we want to see your skill set. We want to see if you're able to wow an audience, a group of readers. And the only way we can test that out is through an event like this, where you have to come up with a short story. So yeah, maybe you could pitch us your manga series later, but for this event specifically, we just want to see what you can do as far as your skill set. So that's kind of one of the rules we have. Don't pitch us an existing series, like Morgan said. Now, you might be able to get away with pitching like a prequel, like she was saying, but it has to be different from your existing series. It has to be like a completely different story. Otherwise, it just wouldn't be fair. But I agree. You know, the art, it could use some refining. I don't want to say this artist is an amateur, but it does kind of come across as if there's certain things that they don't understand, like anatomy wise, and then drawing their faces. But I think this artist can definitely improve with time. And the same thing with their pitch and their short story. I believe that they could, after hearing our thoughts on this, they could definitely form a better plot as well. But that is Angel Hades Ghost Rippers. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one that we have. And if we just had another artist join us, Eric Perdrucci. He is another Summer of Manga alumni from 2023. He hopped on to the call during the middle of this video, so if he is available, I will ask if he will be willing to read our next pitch that we have here. Would you be okay doing that, Edric?
Yeah, sure.
All right, awesome.
So this one is called Guardians of RPG. The pitch is already wrong, because for this format for Summer of Manga, we are looking for you naming 2 existing series. Then can say like, so Yu-Gi-Oh meets Batman. So this is really not what we were looking for, but I'll read it regardless. So Adam, a swordsman with memory loss and dormant Empyrean abilities, sets off on a journey with his friends to uncover and defeat the Binary Organization. Alexander, the leader of the Binary Organization, wants to uncover the ancient artifacts known as the Binary Gems, with the intention of using them to reshape the world into his own image by releasing the Dark Force onto the land of RPG. Through their time spent together, Adam and his friends learn about the mystical power and source known as the Binary, the creator of the universe, and their purpose in it. So this right there could be really well be put on the plot section of this whole pitch, because it's a bit long, but it already encapsulates what this story is going to be about. This could very well be on the plot. But then, so let's see what he put instead of the thing I already read.
Now,
the plot is the story is going to be.
Eric, you don't.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to jump in. This is actually a really long plot, so I'm not going to make you read this whole thing. But I will have you comment. I'll have you comment on why having something this long is a problem. But I'll let you take it away.
So Summer of Manga is a short story based event where we are looking for artists or writers that can tell a story on 10 pages. Or it can vary from 15, but we are looking for artists that can tell a sweet short story with a beginning, middle, and an end into 10 pages. So if you put on your pitch for an event where we're looking for artists that have abilities to tell a story in 10 pages, you write an essay, we will be worried that you can't, or you wouldn't be capable of telling the whole thing you're spilled on the plot into the story without being all jumbled up, or the story breaking apart. There's a very worry about for me at least, regarding the narrative structure being broken down, and the story unfortunately won't be as good, and maybe the artist will feel lost.
Yeah.
Regarding what should he be putting on the story, what is important to put on the short story. So yeah. I think this pitch was refused, right?
Yeah. Another. No, you're absolutely right, Eric. This pitch was rejected. Another thing to note, though, is for a pitch like this, we wouldn't even read the plot because it's so long. We just, we have 400 submissions to go through, and we just don't have the time to read something this long. We're looking for people who will follow our directions per the form that we sent out. So if you don't, then, we're probably just going to bypass your submission, unfortunately. So, compared to the first pitch that we looked at, where like they didn't really give us a description of the story, it was very little. This is the complete opposite. So this would be giving us way too much stuff that we don't need to know. and that being a problem. So, you don't want to make your pitch too short, but you don't want to make it too long. Just make it a paragraph. Just make it 5 sentences. And then make sure that your pitch is taking 2 series that you think your story is most like. So like Eric was saying, maybe like Batman meets Yu-Gi-Oh! But that's basically what I would say for this pitch, Guardians of RPG.
This is a pitch for a writer or an artist? Do we have some portfolio?
I didn't put that down. I don't know if they were a writer or an artist. I think they were just a writer. Otherwise, I probably would have put the link to their art portfolio down. But again, I don't think we would have even looked at their art or their writing just based on plot, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and let's move on to the next pitch that we have here. I don't think I've given Morgan a turn to read one yet, so I'll let her do it.
Yeah, thanks. I'm actually glad I got this one because I was reading this over a second ago. I actually really like some of the elements of this pitch. So, so the title is "The Other Way to Pass a Math Test," which I did, like I said, I admit that caught my attention immediately. The pitch is Scott Pilgrim meets Assassination Classroom. Again, they got the pitch format correct. The plot is Wyatt is a struggling student in middle school because he is an idiot and he can't afford to fail another test. Faced with a treacherous math test, Wyatt recalls a rumor that students can challenge their teachers in 1v1 combat to pass tests. With nothing to lose, Wyatt challenges his math teacher and finds himself facing off against him and his math-based abilities. Wyatt uses his knowledge of manga, anime, and video games to manifest his own ability to read the flow of battle and defeat his teacher to pass the test. So right off the bat, that's a very interesting premise. I mean, we've seen different manga in the industry use the sort of shonen formula of like fighting abilities and unlocking your potential, but using them in kind of crazy themes. So like Dr. Stone is all science-based, or I know there's some more recent ones where it's, either music based or dancing and sports related type of manga. So this feels very relevant to that kind of style of shonen storytelling. I don't think I've seen anything based off of math before, so that would have been an interesting premise to see explored in a short story. And as far as the overall pitch itself, the format, this person pretty much followed the rules like we were expecting. So kudos to them for getting the assignment right. Yeah, I really liked the idea of this one. I'm a little disappointed it got rejected, but hopefully we'll see this kind of creative energy in the future.
Can I add something as well, Jackie?
Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm just pulling up their art right now.
Yeah, okay. So 2 things. The first one is, again, I stay with my belief that the pitch's job is to raise interest, and they did really well. Even when they gave away the plot, they wrote down the plot and we all read it. We don't know what exactly happened. We want more. So that is something that you definitely should do if you're trying to pitch to a publisher, because then they want to have a conversation with you. At least you will get into, like, I guess, an interview phase, or someone will email you to get more information, because, it's interesting. We love it. The other thing is, for me personally, I love this because they, obviously someone who wants to create manga is probably someone who reads a lot of manga, who's interested in anime, in shonen and all that stuff. And they owned it. They really owned it when they put it into their story. So it gives me the feeling that they're creating this from heart, from what they really like, from who they are. And that's absolutely what you should do with all of your story, something that you care a lot about. I cared about my culture. I want it known about the world, which is why I created A Mighty Sword, which has elements of Vietnamese culture all over it. I even dedicated 1 page of my allocated page count to explain to people, like, what are these symbols? It might be a little bit nerdy for some people, But I'm very proud of it. And I think a lot of my readers like resonated with it, because at the end of Summer Manga, you do get a review, the result of the reader review, what your readers think. And a lot of people resonated with that. So I think if you're going to, come out, bare your soul, show a publisher your art and your writing, definitely do it from heart, So kudos to this person for doing that.
Well said.
Yeah. Totally agree. I think I remember seeing this pitch in the submissions that we were going through, and I agree. I really liked the pitch. I liked the plot. I thought something like this would be like a comedy. It would be like really fun. And I don't know if you guys saw the art that I brought up on his Instagram, but now I'm looking at the art that he made or she made on their Manga Plus account. So it looks like they have dabbled in comics before, which is always a great thing. Where that's one of the things that we're looking for. We're looking for people who have experience doing comics. Not to say that we will reject you if you've never done a comic before, but it will increase your chances of getting accepted if you have sequential art to show, if you have comic art to show. It increases your chances of getting in by a lot. So kudos to this person for already having comic work available. Now, I will say their art is a little bit weak in some areas. I think this person has a great style though, and they're getting somewhere with their style. Like this picture right here, for instance, this kind of reminds me of Daddy Doodad a little bit.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know if you guys get that same vibe.
I was like, Daddy Doodad, but actually Jujutsu Kaisen. Because I promise you, this person is inspired by Jujutsu Kaisen, because that's very much the same vibe as JJK. And I just want to say that I agree the artwork definitely needs some improvement, but you can already tell that this person has a good sense of how to visually tell a story. If you look at the pages, the layout, some of the perspective chosen, that is not easy. And sometimes, when we looked at the pitches for Summer of Manga, I mean, you can tell sometimes you can tell that some people are just not really meant to be comic book artists, as harsh as this maybe sounds, but some people are like maybe already, in their 20s and stuff, and I don't know how to describe it. It's just sometimes you look at the page that someone has drawn and you're like, okay, this is just so, you need to fundamentally study comics to, I think, even have a chance to really publish a comic with a publisher. And I think while with this person, the case is that, yes, they do need improvement on the artwork, but they already have a good sense of how to tell a story sequentially. And I think that's worth a lot, because I think, to be honest, I would have chosen this pitch. I would be like, okay, let's give me the story, because I agree with Morgan and I agree with Han. This sounds very interesting. I love the point Han made about this is a story that comes from the heart of the person, because this is always something that people will be able to tell if you made something just because you think this is going to sell well, or if it's something that you truly want to, a story you truly want to tell. And so I would say personally just to improve the artwork, but I think you're already almost there to some degree. So I think maybe next year, if you come back, I want to see the story. I hope they will do it regardless. So
yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. There are a couple things, and I think that this is the reason why they were ultimately rejected, is because their artwork wasn't there yet. Otherwise, I agree with Christina. I think this would have been among our top 60 that we would be considering. But there's areas that definitely need some touching up. So like this image, for instance, it's supposed to be a background piece of, the the house, and I don't know if that's like a garden or something, but it's very rough and it needs work. But like if you look over here at like the way these hands are drawn actually really, really well. Um, the face kind of needs some work. Like the face is kind of, it needs to be more proportional anatomy wise, but this page is pretty good. So it's like this person knows how to draw certain things, but they need kind of help with other things. So I would just say, just continue working on the art, and you might be accepted by next year. But yeah, that is the other way to pass a math test. So
I see what you were doing there, Jackie. So you showed a pitch that is too little, and then you showed one that is too much, and then you showed one that is really good, but like just need a little bit more, like a little bit of X factor. So I see what you did there. So you're really telling people what they should not do, and then what they should do more. So, I see you.
Yeah,
Is that what you meant to do?
I was trying to do like a varied one so that people can see the difference, like really like, yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you noticed that.
Yay. So yeah, tick boxes.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Okay, so we just did this pitch. So now we're on this pitch right here. Okay.
Ooh, Inner Demon.
Perfect. Yes, so this pitch is called Inner Demon. Now the person who pitched this to us has actually been a part of Saturday AM before. They've been in several of our events like March Art Madness, and maybe a couple other events that we had. I know they were in March Art Madness for sure, but I happened to interview this person, and their story was called Inner Demon. And their pitch was Chainsaw Man meets Jujutsu Kaisen, but with Muslim and cultural themes to it. And here is the plot. After Mia has been shooed away by the DED, or the Demon Extermination Department, trying to exit the South London Quarterly District, she breaks down into tears, not being able to see her terminally sick brother who was kept outside. Being confined in such a place for her whole life, where it is filled with the most amount of shayateen, the worst type of jinn from the criminal activity in the area. Walking back, cursing her faith out of frustration, she sees a Korean boy who seems new to the area. While heading home to her slightly dilapidated apartment, I don't know what that means. The following morning, walking over to the shops to get milk and bread for a late breakfast, she meets the same boy named Kai, who points her out for not wearing her hijab. Annoyed at this statement, she scoffs at him not to judge, slightly teared up from embarrassment. But before she has time to ridicule him further, he heads off on an emergency to deal with a possessed individual. Mia is conflicted internally about what Kai said, but before she enters her home after buying groceries, a dead dog like Shaitan crashes through her apartment complex with Kai on its head with a cursed arm. Bleeding out, he is cornered by the sorcerer that controlled the dog to attack the complex and Kai as well as his team. But before he is able to kill him, Mia stops the blow and takes care of him in her transformed Jin state. Seeing Kai, an individual inflicted with a curse like her, opens her mind to following his advice, for the first time ever wearing her hijab. So what do you guys think of the plot?
Can I begin?
Yeah.
Okay. The pitches looks good. This person said Chainsaw Man meets Jujutsu Kaisen. Was that it? The pitch? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good move, including that has a Muslim culture themes to it, because on Summer of Manga and Saturday AM in general, we like to see some works from artists all around the world, and seeing that this artist is willing to put some cultural aspects to it, since it will be a lot of fun to read this story and seeing some Muslim cultural representation.
Mm-hmm.
So about the plot itself, I think he could polish up some things that we the people who are judging the pitches for this year, he didn't really needed to put some stuff like, oh, she goes out to buy some milk. So he could just go straight to the point on some aspects. But I'm curious. I would like to see how the execution of this this story is going to be,
Mm-hmm.
where it's going to lead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know really the art quality of this artist, but well, I think in a minute we will see,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of know if the artist will be up to the task of
Mm-hmm.
making the short story. But
Yeah.
Overall, I think it's a solid pitch. I would like to see it. Spurred my interest on it. So
Right.
yeah, good job.
Yes, this specific pitch I put a question mark because it did make it to our cut of 60 people that we were looking at, whether or not to participate in Summer of Manga or not. But it was a question mark because there were some things about this specific pitch that we weren't quite sure of. So that's why we put it as a check mark. So it didn't make our final cut of 20 people, but I wanted to discuss it and kind of review it. Now, my interview notes, I put, this person's art is great. They've created a 20-page comic before, and the artist says that they feel ready artistically for Summer of Manga. Now, the artist was able to condense down his story quickly when he was prompted, but they didn't seem confident about certain things. Like, this artist was bringing up religion and the Muslim themes to his story, and he had a lot of like, he had certain things that he wasn't like quite sure of. Like when I asked him, like, okay, like what's the meaning of the hijab? You know, like I'm not gonna say I know the Muslim faith and I understand, you know, what it means or like things like that, but like I couldn't answer that question for him because I didn't know. Now you have to be you with things like this, you have to do a lot of research, because you have to be respectful of like certain religions. Like, you know, if you're doing a manga that's about Christianity, for example, and a lot of your manga has like satanic elements and like stuff that's like totally opposite of the religion, you know, you're not only kind of disrespecting the religion, but you're not accurately portraying what that religion is. So with things like this, you have to be respectful of the religion, and you have to make sure, because like he was saying that there might be issues with the violence in his plot, and trying to depict the Muslim religion with that. So, you know, I just told him you have to be like respectful, cautious about that sort of thing. But Han, I want to bring you to the stage with this specific point, because for your Summer of Manga story, you had to do a lot of research for your Vietnamese Summer of Manga pitch. Could you kind of explain to people how important doing that is prior to, you know, making your comic? Like, is it something you can kind of improvise, or is it something that you really need to know what you're doing in order to accurately portray things like this?
That is a very interesting question. So, speaking from my personal experience, I feel like personally when I create a story, put it in a international publication where everybody can read it, and I have my flag next to my name, I do need to have an accurate portrayal of what I'm doing, or at least I have to feel comfortable owning my work. It is mine, and I take responsibility for my interpretation of events in the story. Now, if it's history and fantasy, whatever, it has happened in the past, and it has been interpreted before. I can't 100% be accurate, like, oh, I know what happened then, but at least I do need to feel like I'm comfortable retelling my version of the story, and I personally have to feel satisfied that I am bringing into it an interpretation and that is mine, and people can also see that is mine alone. It's how do I put it? So it's I'm not trying to grasp something that is not mine and trying to make it mine. Like, that's why I chose Vietnamese culture, because that's where I'm from. It's easy for me. I'm bilingual, so I can read in Vietnamese as well, and approach a lot of different sources of information to ensure that the interpretation is correct. And I'm not copying something from Chinese culture, for example. There is a lot of crossover between Vietnamese and Chinese culture because we share a border. There was parts of history where Vietnam was under Chinese influence a lot. So, there are crossover, but there are lots of things that we made our own, that it's inarguably Vietnamese. Like, say, for example, the whole world, think of this year's Lunar New Year as the year of the rabbit, I think. But in Vietnam, it's the year of the cat. We have made that ours, and we have our own animal. So when I drew a picture of like a cat and say, hey, happy Vietnamese year of the cat, people were like, oh my God, I thought it's completely just the rabbit. No, it's not. But I'm able to do that, and I'm confident to do that because it is my culture, because I've lived it. So when you create something that you're not familiar with, I'm not saying that don't do it. A lot of great work, artist work, that people who are fans of it decided, I want to study this and I want to make something out of it, and they make fantastic work out of it. But a lot of research came into it, and the person feel that they own that work. They have done enough to feel confident about it. Now, when you approach a publisher, I don't think you're at a point in your career that you're hoping for someone to hold your hand anymore. You go into it because you think, I have a story to tell. I have a message to write. I want the world. And I want people who feel it, who understand it, who relate to it, to know that, they're not alone. So you're speaking for a lot of people there. You're relating to a lot of people there. So I think if a person comes to a publisher and are not that confident yet about their story, then that is perhaps not their time yet. Perhaps more work needs to be done into research, into ensuring that they are confident to own their work, because that is their name on that cover story. It's not Saturday AM. It's that person. So, if you're going to be proud of something, obviously you have to know it inside out. And if you're not ready yet, if you're not there yet, then perhaps you should give yourself some more time. That's all. Not to say that that person is, perhaps anything, but it's literally just perhaps it's not the right time for them yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was my only reservation with this pitch, that he didn't really feel very confident about like certain parts of his story. So, that's why, we kind of put him as a question mark. But Christina, yes, you've made Grimheim, and your story is also based on, the German lore, the medieval European lore. So you also had to do a lot of research for your story as well. So yeah, we'd love to hear your input as well on this.
Yeah, the thing is, I think Han already said like it also well when it comes to the cultural influence. But I, as a creator, and this sounds very specific, but I think it can apply to storytelling for like in general. And when I read the story, I was actually focused on the female perspective of the story, because I don't know if the artist like is aware of that, but not only is the like Muslims part of the story something that maybe they need to really do some research on and finding out what kind of Muslim like culture they want to explore in their story. But the moment you add a female character in the setting and you talk about how it was a Korean boy who I don't know what he did. He kind of called her out for not wearing her
Is it
hijab.
important that he is Korean? Sorry,
I don't know. I
forgot
have
the
no
line.
idea. That's a good question.
But why
actually. I
does it
no
have
idea.
to be he is a Korean boy? Like,
That's a good question. I have
he
no
could
idea.
be any boy, you know?
That's true. But and then this actually adds another like layer of discussion. And I think this is something to notice, that like this is the like kind of hard thing when it comes to writing. When you add these little elements, you will always have someone like Han, like me, questioning that. And we don't question that because we want to see you fail. We're questioning that because this will be like something people will ask themselves about. Like, wait a minute, why is this boy Korean? And so again, for this female character, for example, I think it's very interesting that you have this whole hijab thing going on. But I was kind of like wondering, like maybe you need to do a whole lot of research on that, because I was actually right now kind of researching about that, and there's actually so much, like the hijab is, as far as I know from my little knowledge and little research I did, very much connected to the like the status of the women and how they are viewed in society and the gender norm. And so there's just this whole another layer of discussion going on. And I think that's something I wanted to touch on, that maybe once you add this kind of like, not only do you have this cultural like aspect of the story, but you also have this gender perspective that you maybe need to take care of. So
yeah.
And then you have monsters that
and
you
then
need
you have
to
monsters.
play and all that. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's just very complex. I mean, I think once this person is maybe maybe they have, after some time when they really think about the story and maybe really figured out what they want to tell with the story, like Han said, really have a message. I think then they can pull this off. But maybe this is too complex for just a sum of manga story. It might be a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And I still didn't quite understand why, when in the end she's putting on her hijab, I don't know what this means to her. Like, what does the hijab mean for her character growth in this short story? And so a lot of questions.
Yeah, it's cramming quite a lot into one story, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely agree.
I will say, just kind of end it on the plot really quick. I did watch. I don't know if you guys have ever watched the Breadwinner. Have you ever watched that? It was made by the same people.
Classic.
It was made by the same people who did Song of the Sea, and I believe Wolfwalkers. But that was a really amazing like short movie. I believe it was a short movie.
Really moving.
It was supposed to be depicting the Muslim culture, and the main character, the women, in that culture, they have to obey very strict rules, and they have to listen to the men, and if they don't, they could get into a lot of trouble. And she wears her hijab in the story, and they're just trying to survive. They're trying to get food. They're trying to do this and that. And she has to rely on her brother a lot to take care of a lot of these things, because she just can't go out and do it herself. It's just the rules. So it was an incredible story if you guys are able to check it out. But it was a good, and it was I believe, more of like a respectful interpretation of the Muslim culture. So that would be just kind of like one example to do it. But I think this person is definitely on the right track. We love seeing things like this, a Muslim, uh, elements, different kind of culture elements. We love seeing that, but we just want to make sure that you're confident in telling that story too, and being respectful of the culture and the religions, because we don't want to offend people. Um, if you were to present kind of something different or something that could be seen as controversial. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at their art. But I love all of the discussion. Um, I was pulling up some of their work, and I didn't get to hear Morgan talk yet on this, so I'll let her kind of talk about the art here.
I've just been enjoying I've just been enjoying the conversation. I mean, there's not much I feel like that I could add that already hasn't been said. I think everybody's made some very fantastic points, many of which I agree with in terms of the sensitivity of treating cultural subjects like religion. Art-wise, I definitely recognize this person's artwork because they have participated in March Art Madness. The Hammer poster was one of those entries that we had that was actually really well done. I like a lot of the different variety and art types that this person is exploring. They have explored doing sequential art, so at least they have some experience in that arena, which is always a plus for us. I think there's quite a bit of detail. Again, if they were to have been selected, there's always concerns of, okay, making sure that you're spending enough time to tell the story, and especially with a complex story that they were pitching, it could get very complicated very quickly, even in the art as well. But they're very talented. I do appreciate some of the cultural aspects that they were wanting to explore. I think the pitch that they presented was just a little too complicated, and I can't remember who said it, if it was Eric or someone else, but some of the details that they added were just way too much. They could have just simplified it down quite a bit and focused on kind of the major points that they could have been telling.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and let's move on to this next person that we have here. I will let Han, I will let you read this next pitch. It's called Ava. So go ahead and take it away if you don't mind.
Okay, so the pitch is Jackie Chan Adventures meets Superman. Interesting. So the plot is a young woman named Ava faces struggles living in the inner city of Elville, where crime has been at an all-time high due to the crooks and their sudden use of magic amulets. While working at the city's oldest museum, Ava finds a magic blanket and uses it to become a superhero. Okay, I see where the Superman reference comes to take on the crooks and find the remaining amulets to help take back control of the city. Why Superman? Why it's not Supergirl? Because that's woman.
Supergirl? It was supposed to. Oh yeah, because Ava. Yeah. Okay, I see that.
Yeah.
Christina, what do you think of the plot?
I think it's way simpler than the other one, so that's good. It's actually something I can understand.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't have that many feelings about it, to be completely honest. It's, I think it sounds good for me. Maybe not like. I think one of the problems I have, maybe it's like too short for like the plot is maybe a little bit too short because it sounds more like again like a concept, not really a plot for a short story. Because as far as I know, for some of manga, it's better to have like the perfect plot would be like beginning, middle, and end, and you get a clear idea of how the story plays out. And I do know that we did have pages who did that very well. So for this, it's more like, okay, we get the basic idea of the story, but I think the story sounds, interesting enough. It just, I think for me now, it would depend on the artwork, like how the artwork would look.
I agree with you. It sounds like a whole series for me. If you say, if it's a Western comic, it could be a thick comic book, like, like maybe 5 centimeter thick whole book containing this. So I really don't think that it's a one-shot story. It won't give it the correct depth, I guess. Because I can see an entire book be made out of this.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to. I said I wasn't going to say anything, but there's something that came to my mind when I was listening to all of you regarding the length and what the artist meant with this speech being something, I think, bigger. I think maybe the plot could be improved if there was only one amulet, and there's the leader of these crooks that use this amulet, and then there's like we can cut short a lot of the, like, on a narrative standpoint, we could cut a lot of the unnecessary plots that the drawn-up comics would need to tackle on this short story. If there was only one magic amulet, and then the main character would be fighting, since this looks like a shonen battle manga, there was the girl who has the magic blanket, and then the big bad guy that has the magic amulet, and then we can make a lot simpler and can work better if there's only 2 MacGuffins instead of a whole bunch of amulets. So yeah, that's the only thing I want to say.
You know what? Like, just the magic. Sorry. I was just thinking, just that magic blanket would have been great. This is like Aladdin. Like, you go into a cave or like a museum where you have a lot of stuff, and then you find a magic blanket. That is a lot like Aladdin. I love it. So if it's just focused on how they found the blanket, how they found out what the blanket can do, and maybe they have a boss fight, like a small boss fight first, that will be so much more interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of on the opposite spectrum from you guys. I actually think that their plot, I think they did a decent job of telling us what would happen in the beginning, middle, and end. She's dealing with struggles in the city, and there's a guy who comes, and he's taking the magic amulet, so she has to put on this blanket to fight him. And the ending would be, whatever happens at the end of that. So, I think they did a decent job of explaining what the plot is. And I thought it was good. My issue with it was, I think, Han or Christina was saying it's a little bit too simple. So, it needs something a little bit more interesting, just to kind of, make it pop. Make, what's the hook? What's that one thing that is going to really make me want to say, yeah, this is something I want to read.
You see, writing speech is not easy.
It is.
Yeah,
it's not.
I get what you're saying, Jackie.
But
I get what you're saying about that. Maybe instead, because I said to only be one amulet to start simplicity, because I was thinking, well, if this speech was chosen, he would only have 10 pages to make a whole lot of shenanigans to make the crooks getting all these amulets, and you still have to tell the story about the protagonist. But I think the crooks could already have all the amulets except one, and then the story would focus on them getting into this, filling up what Hans said. They are going to this museum, and then there's this female character that works on the museum, and then the museum is invaded by these crooks, and then she has to take this cape that that she found at the museum, and then take on these crook guys. So yeah, I wasn't saying that the pitch and the artist made a bad idea of short story. I was just trying to say what it could be improved from my perspective alone.
Yeah. And let me just take a look here at the interview notes. I believe Austin was the one who interviewed this person. Let's see what they said. They said this story seems simple, which isn't a bad thing. Though the artist didn't go into too much detail, there is a concern of how much time this person can spend doing this one shot due to other personal obligations. However, this artist has talent, but this would be their first time doing a comic. Okay, so, I could see why this pitch would be a question mark then. Um, if one of the people that are submitting for Summer of Manga has a lot of personal obligations in life, like college, or they have a big family, or they have like several jobs that they're juggling, that could be an issue doing this event. Another thing that was in the interview notes, this is their first time doing a comic. So if they don't have really anything to show as far as sequential art, that is another thing that we're kind of like, we're not too sure about. So I can see why we kind of put like a question mark there. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at this person's art. And I'll give the floor to Christina or Han or Morgan, whoever didn't get to pitch in on this pitch yet. Yeah, did you see what I did there? Pitch in on this pitch. Okay.
Maybe Morgan. I don't
here's
know.
The art.
I think Morgan didn't say anything regarding this person yet.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to keep being the person who just comments on the art all the time.
Oh, you can talk about the story too, right? I mean, if you want to talk about the story, then...
I mean, for me,
sorry, Morgan. I didn't realize I was doing that. I'm sorry.
Well, when you have 5 people, it's like, okay, 4 people have already said everything I could possibly say, so what's there for me to add? No, it's fine. I think it's just how the video is structured. So, yeah, no, very talented artist. I'm not sure what their personal obligations are that would prevent them from being able to produce this kind of quality for the final product. And when they say that it's their first time drawing comics, I mean, clearly they've got some sequential work, so maybe they're just referring to drawing a complete comic, beginning, middle, end kind of story, as opposed to just these little snapshots or individual pages. The story itself, I agree that there's not really a wow factor that really like separated it from the rest of the pitches, or the rest of the really good ones that we accepted. For me, it's also an example of what a lot of other creators do when they've pitched to us, is they provide way too many specifics, but it kind of confuses you a little bit, because you're like, well, what does the crooks mean? Like, what's their actual mission? Like, all we know is that they're the bad guys and they have something to do with amulets. So it's a weird combination of being too specific, but also oddly not specific enough. And I think that for people who pitch to us, that you need to find that fine balance of giving us enough information to keep us interested, but also not too much information that it's like, I have no idea what this is about, or it's just too much. And it's, if anything, just kind of keep it to the description of what the story is, but not giving us like names of specific people or things. Like, let that come out in the editorial process. Just give us the main points of what your story is trying to tell. But I think that this person, it's commendable how far they got. I think this could have been a really good artist to have in the magazine. I like the look of their work. I think it'll be better maybe to see them what they can produce for next year, and just kind of use this time to improve their skills, storytelling and art wise.
Yeah. Well said. Yes,
Yeah,
and this was...
Sorry, Jackie. I
Oh, go ahead.
also want to just clarify that, like, if anyone is maybe having an inkling about having time to create comics and things like that, I work 2 jobs. Like a lot of creators find time. We find time. We improve our skills. So I don't think that is the main factor why this person was not selected for this year. So I just want to make it very clear for anyone who's watching and thinking, oh, maybe they would like fail me because I have a part-time job or I work full-time. No, that is not a factor. Just to be very clear. That is not actually a factor. We do ask people how much time can you commit? Do you have a plan to manage your time? Because this is business. We have to create a magazine for people who reads it every month. So yes, we do need people who can commit, but it does not mean that like if you have a part-time job, you definitely just we will just think you won't have enough time to do that. No, that's not the case at all. So just want to clarify that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Han. Otherwise, I would have just breezed over it. You're absolutely right. I appreciate you saying that a lot. Yeah, a lot of our creators in SaturnAM have jobs, full time, part time. There's some people in our company that have kids too, so that doesn't stop you from, because everyone will have free time. It doesn't matter. I don't think if you're like super busy, I still think you'll be able to manage to find free time in your day to do this kind of thing.
Just real quick on what was said about this whole timing stuff. I think, I mean, this was just perfectly said in my opinion. I think it all just comes down to making some sacrifices every once in a while when it comes to your time. Like maybe instead of going out with your friends or spending time with your loved ones, which can be very hard, work on your comic book. And you don't have to finish. I mean, I had a lot of stuff going on. I had an internship. I'm working I have a job. I'm still in college. I moved 2 times in like 3 months. So that was all pretty crazy. But I was still trying to find time to work on Grimheim. And even though I've slowed down quite a lot, I was still able to, finish some pages. So it's usually all about trying to find time, and don't beat yourself up if you're like, I don't know, I have only finished 10 pages in, I don't know, 4 months or so. I mean, as long as you get something done, that's better than nothing. So
yeah, all good points, you guys. I appreciate everyone's input. Yeah, good stuff. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to our final pitch for this episode. We'll end it on a high note here. This is one of the pitches that we did accept into our final 20. And let's go ahead and let's give this a read. Morgan, would you like to read this for us?
Sure. So this pitch was called Cutie Wishes Pile Driver by Luke Lufshine from the United States. Again, this person was accepted. Their pitch was Sailor Moon meets WWE, and the plot was a college freshman enters a wrestling competition for magical girls and must use the power of friendship to overcome the seemingly unstoppable Fleur de Lisa, who is the current reigning champion from her rival university. And then they described the beginning of the story as protagonists entering the ring and beginning the fight. The middle of the story is a short flashback sequence detailing the stakes leading up to these characters' rivalry. And the ending of the story is that the main character befriends Fleur de Lisa, and they form a tag team vowing to become the best magical girl wrestlers in the industry.
So what do you think about that, Morgan?
Absolutely love this pitch. This reminds me of, the math test one too. It's very short and sweet to the point. We get a really good pitch. Something very interesting. Sailor Moon meets WWE, which for those who may not are familiar with the acronym, it's the World Wrestling Entertainment Group. It's basically wrestling. So you got big buff dudes in a ring, like a boxing ring, mixed with magical girl. Yeah, Undertaker, Stone Cold, Steve Austin, etc. The Rock, Bautista, I think used to be. A lot of wrestlers end up becoming actors. So a lot of modern day tough guys used to get their start in wrestling. The movie industry. So the plot, I think, again, very straightforward. It explains the sequencing of the story without giving too much information. It tells us the name of the main character, which is already very interesting, Fleur de Lisa. And it really just helps to explain what we have to expect in the story. And I think from a shonen it might not even be shonen. It could be seinen or shoujo. But from a storytelling perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense. The sequencing that they're doing, the stakes that a character gets that kind of motivates them to get in there and finish this fight kind of thing. No, I think that this is it was a really good pitch. This one definitely grabbed my attention when I first read it, and I'm really happy to see this person move on to the final selection.
Yeah, this is a great example of a pitch that is not only a good idea, but it's also sounds fun. It sounds like it'd be really fun to read, and that's probably one of the biggest things that caught our attention, which is why we selected it to be seriously considered, because we really like that concept of it. Now, Eric, what do you think of the idea of the story of the pitch? Just like a quick thoughts.
I like it as well. If I'm sure this was a pitch based on a comedy, if I think so, I think it will, the execution and the style, because I already saw the art from these artists, and I can say that it will be a really interesting pitch an interesting short story to read, because I myself am a fan of the Undertaker, so yeah, good job. I'm excited to read this one.
Can I highlight something as well?
Yeah.
It's the structure of the story that is quite interesting, because actually now that I read it, it's the exact same structure that I had in my one shot, which is you cut right through to the beginning of your fight, of your main event, and then you cut back for a little bit of flashback to explain the motivation. So so with shonen, you want to have a lot of dynamic scene going on. I'm not very good at it, but at least I jump into a fight right away. So this person did the same thing. So you have a fight, you have interesting things for people to see right away, and then you explain the backstory quickly with a flashback. It's not exactly backstory, but the stakes and things like that. So you give your reader something to root for right away, and then you give them a little bit more. So you hold their attention, and then that ending is so much more satisfying to read, because you know all that now. So that's a very effective structure for a very short story where you don't have a lot of space to tell your story and get a message across. So kudos to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I will say, let me go ahead and open up our Sataram website. We have some really cool things going on. If you guys want to check out, we have Gunhild by Fred Torninger come out. We also had Underground Volume 1 by J.R. DeBard come out, and we had Apple Black Volume 3 by White Manga. Those are our latest volumes that we had. And you could buy them at Amazon or Barnes & Nobles. We have them available all retail stores that you could buy. We also have a How to Draw Diverse Manga for all of you guys watching these videos, and maybe you heard that your pitch it could use a little bit more work, learning how to draw and just getting better at artwork and stuff like that. This book would be great for you guys to study. And yeah, we have so many other different books that are coming out. I think I mentioned Soul Beat by Morgan Walker, who's on this call. Her book is coming out later this October. We also have, I know, it's so exciting. And we also have
look at that cover.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like I think Mitch kind of designed these. It's gorgeous. And we have, and speaking of Mitch, his book is coming out, Henshin Volume 1, next month, or I'm sorry, July. It's either June or July, but his book is coming out.
It's July, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, his book is coming out soon. So be on the lookout, guys, for books from our creators. Here's Soul Beat right here, and all of these books that are coming out later in the year: Apple Black Volume 4, Saturn Annual 2024, Hammer Volume 4, Titan Volume 2, Oblivion Rouge Volume 2. All good stuff, guys. Be sure we're also having some events that we're going to be doing toward the end of the year and just coming up here. I think Fred, our boss and CEO, founder of the company, he was saying that we're going to be trying to appear to some like cons, conventions, or we're looking to appear to some. So, just follow us on social media, check out our news updates and stuff just to keep track of what's going on, because who knows, we might end up going to a convention right in your neighborhood. So just be on the lookout for that. But other than that, did you guys have any kind of final words for people who are watching and stuff like that? Any advice?
I have.
Sure. Take it away, Eric.
So if your pitch didn't get chosen, don't feel discouraged. Just seek to improve yourself in your pitch to next year. There was 400 entries that we had to skim through and see and select only, I think, 20, right? 20. So from 400. So if your pitch didn't get chosen, don't feel discouraged. Try to improve on your sequential art, on your artwork itself, on the script, and try again next year. We will be more than happy to see you again on next year's Summer of Manga.
Yes. Very good, very good. Yeah, Webtoons, Tapastic, it's all out there. You don't need Saturday AM to publish your comic. Like, obviously we're gonna promote our own company, Saturday AM, because we work here and we love our company, but don't let it be the end all be all. If you want to publish your comic, then go out there and publish your comic. Don't wait on other people. If you want to tell a good story and you want to show your art, then do it. Absolutely. What about you, Christina?
Just very quickly, we only have 2 minutes left, and maybe 1 minute left. But I guess I would just agree with what everyone has said. If you're not getting chosen for Summer of Manga, don't be discouraged. There will always be other opportunities, and just because you don't make it with Saturday AM or any magazine, that does not mean your story doesn't have any merit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be it from my part.
Well said.
Yes. How about you, Morgan?
Just happy to be here. Short and sweet. Short and sweet.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys spending the time to be here today, and you guys watching. We'll be back with another episode soon, so stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.